Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we return to talking about one of the worst news outlets out there, one of the worst papers, one of the ones that are so biased it kind of makes you sick. I'm of course talking about the LA Times. The LA Times is kind of like a spin-off of the New York Times. We all know how bad they are. They're the East Coast old school paper that actually used to be the paper of record. You could actually used to trust the New York Times to give you guys facts. People could quote it and use it as a news source. But these days they're super biased, just like the LA Times. The LA Times is super woke and they're always supporting liberals, always pushing democratic stuff, and also just like Marxist identity politics filled ideology. They're trying to push social justice, and that's what's brought us to today's story. Today we're talking about an interesting take. They have a new post and a new article. You're never going to believe this, but they actually are going to say that camping is offensive now. Camping is when you go out into the woods, you bring a tent, you bring a cooler, some food, stay overnight with a few friends, have a laugh, maybe start a bonfire, do some other outdoor stuff, hiking, things like that. Camping can be fun. Not exactly my cup of tea. Of course, I'm more of an indoor guy. I'm more of a house cat, but yeah, camping's cool. I used to do it as a kid. Everyone done it at one point, I believe. It's kind of an American tradition. But somehow the LA Times has found a way to say that's racist and offensive, and it's not catering to minorities enough, apparently. I'm not sure how they're going to get there. I'm not sure the mindset on that. I can already tell you that it's pretty silly and probably wrong, but let's give them a chance. We're going to check out their tweet and their article and their story soon. We're going to go over the whole story and how camping is supposedly offensive. But first, let's take a quick moment to check out our sponsor. Hey guys, I'm here to talk about this awesome pro-police coin that you have all been very interested in recently. We started giving away this police coin last month and we had a lot of great takers on this offer. Basically, all you have to do is pay for shipping and you could get yourself a very nice golden coin that has engraved police images on it. This is to support our men in blue, to show that we support these heroes who are saving our country, protecting us from evil and stopping all that crime out there, at least the best they can. I know the leftists and everyone want to defund the police, but here at NoBS, we're here to support them. And really one of the best ways you can do that is signing up and getting one of these free cop coins. They're free for a limited time. You just have to pay shipping. So if you're interested, make sure you check out the link below today's video. And for now, let's get back to the show. Great. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about the LA Times. This is the original tweet that most people saw this story on. It says, camping is often called America's favorite outdoor activity, but camping in national parks have a complicated past when it comes to racial equality and equal access for all. One modern barrier to entry, the cost of camping gear. Want more diversity in camping? Start with the gear. Okay. Whoa. Okay, so we're not going to get to the article just yet. I think that gives us enough to talk about for a moment. I mean, this is a great American outdoor activity, as I mentioned, but I don't get how it's complicated and racially equal and not equal access. I mean, maybe there's some racism in the past. Like I'm sure we're going to do some walk down memory lane in 100 years ago. Minorities couldn't go to certain parks or something silly. But the truth of the matter is we've had equality. We've had this kind of fairness in our country since at least the 1960s. I mean, civil rights movement and all that stuff kind of cured a lot of things. We had the Equal Rights Amendment and things like that. So we've had fairness, like everyone could go to the park, everyone could go camp if they want to, the opportunities there. And that's why I just question this whole thing. I mean, racial equality is just a questionable word too. I mean, obviously we want things to be equal and fair, but whenever a leftist says it, whenever you hear it come from someone that's dominated by Democrats like the Los Angeles Times, well, usually they don't actually mean equality. Like they play a lot of word games, and for them equality isn't really equality. It's like equity. It's like they want everyone to be given stuff even if they didn't earn it. They don't want equality, like they won't want everyone to be treated the same. They actually want special treatment for their favorite groups like blacks, browns, Asians, like all other minorities. They want special treatment. And then they also want to treat white people worse. Like they want to go and kind of be mean to them because they don't like white people. They're kind of bitter about the past. They can't handle history. So they think it's like justified to hate on white people. And that's kind of the most messed up part. And that's where I'm seeing a kind of look into this story if I'm guessing where it's going to go. And the last thing before we move on, we'll get to some more about the article. But the last thing is like the cost of camping gear is a barrier for minorities. I mean, that kind of to me is sounding like, one, they're complaining about camping gear being expensive. And I guess that might be possible. I'm sure there's a lot of things you have to get on your first camping mission too, but you can find cheap alternatives. Like you can make your own sleeping bag out of some old blankets. Like you can get yourself a small, modest tent and a regular cooler. It's not like the hardest thing in the world. It doesn't have to be super expensive. I know some of that camping gear can get expensive, especially if you go to like the premium outlets for it and you go to like Bass Pro Shops or something and they have like these $500 tents that are just like markups, like that's possible. But the point is that's going to be the same prices for everyone. Like this isn't a racialized thing. Like if camping gear is expensive, it's expensive for everyone. If you could get a deal on it, we can all get a deal on it. So I don't really get the whole race obsession here, which is why I think it's already super questionable. So we're going to go over this Washington Examiner review of the article. You can't actually read the LA Times article without signing up. So I'm not going to sign up, that's for sure. But we'll read this review of it. It says, Los Angeles Times, camping has a complicated racial past and cost of equipment is a barrier to minorities. And yeah, that's the other thing. The way this is phrased sounds better because it just makes it sound like they think minorities are poor and they can't afford stuff. And it's just like, to me, that's kind of reverse racism almost. I know it's just straight up racism, but it's like a reversal because they're like trying so hard not to be racist. They're actually being racist and saying these minorities are all poor or something. And that's just like kind of odd. It's like saying, oh, they can't get a job, they can't make money, they can't buy camping stuff. It's like, no, they're adults, they're grown-ass human beings. They're not above or below anyone. I know you want to have a hierarchy in your mind, and they seem to think that white people are all supreme or something like that, but that's coming from them, not us. The Los Angeles Times reported that recreational camping has a complicated past when it comes to racism, and the cost of camping gear is a barrier preventing minorities from enjoying the hobby. Camping is often called America's favorite outdoor activity, the LA Times posted on Twitter, along with an article titled, Want More Diversity in Camping? Start with the Gear. So we already read most of that. We saw this tweet already. This is the original tweet. And yeah, let's get to some more about the story. It says, from 2010 to 2014, 94% of visitors to national forests identified as white. Another tweet in the thread stated, people who identified as Latino made up 5%, and those who identified as black made up 1%. So this is just really bad proof. This is just not racism. This isn't showing anything offensive is happening. This is showing people are making different choices with their lives. These types of people, apparently white people like camping more and they like going to these parks more. And that's all you've really proven here. It's not showing that they're racist. It's not showing that these people are offensive or getting hurt or anything like that. This is just the racial makeup of a survey from a certain park, a certain couple of parks, whatever it may be. And yeah, that doesn't prove racism. This is classic liberal tactic. Like they think if they point to different numbers, like if races are uneven somewhere, that's automatically an offense. That's automatically something bigoted happening. But that's not true. You have to prove racism. You have to actually show racist things happening to say there's racism. You can't just say, oh, there's a difference between these two numbers. That's racism. It's like, no, that's not proving it. You got to show that someone did something racist. In the article, the reporter tied those statistics to the history of segregation of national parks in the 1930s and pointed out that national parks were originally inhabited by Native American tribes that were removed from the area violently. The reporter also praised the Sierra Club for recently condemning its founder, naturalist John Muir, over racist comments in his writings about Black and Indigenous people. So yeah, it sounds like this article and the writer is really biased and really terrible and just going the whole anti-white angle. They're going against everyone that's American, everyone that's built this country and lived here for many years. And they're also just time traveling, like this thing mentioned, like go back to the 1930s and try to tie this statistic to segregation from 70 years ago. 80 years ago. This is like totally disconnected, and it's not a true connection. There's not even like a correlation here. It's just some writer at the LA Times trying to garner up some racist story, trying to call people offensive, attack white people, say, oh, it's bad that you go to parks and we should get more minorities at the parks. But the way you're going about this is terrible. First of all, you start off saying they can't afford the equipment. So you're kind of like infantilizing these minorities, saying, oh, you're too poor to go to the park, you're too poor to camp. And that's just not true. That's offensive. And that's just like subtly, like low-key, low expectation racism. And then also you're calling all white people racist for going to the park more and camping. I mean, what harm is that? Why can't we enjoy the parks? Like, this is something that we're part of this country too. And if they don't want to go, they don't have to go. If we want to go, we should be able to go. And the whole racist angle here is just almost wholly made up. And the last thing I'll mention is, and this is just pretty obvious if you've known lots of different people like I have. I've had friends of all walks of life, all different race, colors, and creeds and all that stuff. And here's the thing they're not really identifying, they don't really get is, Black people don't like camping, okay? They don't want to go out in the woods. This is just not something that's for them. It's just not their preference. And it's not because of anything wrong. It's not because of racist people in the woods. They just don't like it. They prefer other things. That's fine. That's not an issue. I don't get why they want to force these people to do things that they don't want to do. It doesn't make any sense. Like, if they want to go camping, they can. That's fine. And then if they don't want to go camping, that's fine. It's just, it's like looking at another thing and saying, oh, why is there so many of these people? Like for example, like a Black kind of activity, their favorite sport tends to be like a basketball or football. Like, and if you go to a field, like say a basketball court, and there's mostly Black dudes playing, like, is that offensive? Like, if there's 94% Black dudes on the court and only 1% white, is that racism? Because I don't think so. And I don't think these people in this article would think so. And I don't think any sane person would. And that's because it's not. People just prefer different activities. Camping is fun, and that's fine. But it's like I said, I don't like camping. I'm not a big outdoors guy. I mean, I could do it. I've had fun. I've done plenty of hikes in my day. I still could do it one day. Maybe I'll take the kids camping one day in the future. But yeah, it's just something some people like, some people don't. And that's the way it is. That's the end of the whole story. The article describes a woman named Mo Jackson who went camping in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and decided she would try to encourage more people of color to experience the popular hobby. Jackson then began raising money via Instagram for people of color who wanted a camping kit but couldn't afford it. I think there's a lot of white guilt right now, Jackson said about the increase in donations in July. We're all learning and growing. Sometimes guilt is a part of it too. Not that we want guilt and shame, but we do want growth. So they're just openly admitting to capitalizing on white guilt. So now we could kind of see why they're trying to push this on us. That's why they want to say all white people are racist and we're terrible and our history and our past is the worst in the world. Like, it's because they want to make money. I mean, it's straight up. This Jackson GoFundMe made $66,000. I mean, geez, there is a lot of white guilt out there. And I didn't expect this to be the ending, but they're openly admitting to profiting off of that. They try to act like they're not. They're like, no, we don't want guilt and shame, but we do. We don't want guilt and shame, but we do, So they're profiting off of this. This is the answer to the why this kind of stuff is happening. It's because of anti-white racism. It's because of these kinds of activist minorities trying to make a buck. They're trying to grift, and it's just a bad situation. And it's funny that we had to talk about camping today. I definitely didn't see this one coming. That about wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you comment your thoughts on everything below. Also hit the like button if you enjoyed what you saw. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell for notifications. And finally, check out our second channel, NoBS News. Until next time, have a great day.